Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, April 22nd, Maplewood City Council meeting. Today is Earth Day, so I want to express Happy Earth Day to everybody. Going back just a little bit, I remember the very first Earth Day. I happened to be in high school. I was just a youngster. But Earth Day was created back, and the first one was April 22nd, 1970, to demonstrate the support for environmental protection and also sustainability. Today, over 1 billion people celebrate Earth Day in 193 countries. They all hold events. The theme for this Earth Day is planet versus plastics. And I sat down and took a look at all of the things that Maplewood is doing in terms of environmental things, sustainability, and I started writing a few things just to remind us of some of the things that we're doing. You know, we are the highest step on the Green Step Cities plan. In fact, when they deal with Maplewood, they have to create new things for us to do because we have already accomplished so many of the goals to be a Green Step city. We have adopted one of the few cities, I think more are coming around to it. We adopted a climate adaptation plan. If you're interested in that, it's on our website. We have an Earth Week challenge this week that's going on. We have a staff green team. We do an annual tree sale that the trees are going to be, you know, the trees, they sell out so quickly every year, but the pickup is going to be in May for all of those people who ordered trees. We do food composting, and the list goes on and on and on. So I think Maplewood can be very proud of all of the things that we're doing to celebrate Earth Day. So I just wanted to commemorate that and say thank you, Council, because I think our councils historically have been very interested in our environment. Especially, I'll kind of highlight Councilmember Juniman. I think at one point for an award that she received, I think I described that she if she gets a cut, she bleeds green because she is such an environmentalist. So thank you, and thank you to my council members because we continue to focus on things that we can do to protect our environment. So happy Earth Day, everybody. Let's start now with our Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll get our meeting started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. City Clerk Sint, would you do our roll call, please?
Councilmember Cave.
Here.
Councilmember Juniman.
Here.
Councilmember Lee.
Present.
Councilmember Villavicencio.
Here.
Mayor Abrams.
I'm here as well. Council members, moving on to our the approval of our minutes for the April 8th City Council workshop. Would someone like to make a motion?
We have to approve the agenda first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just crossed it off. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Council members, do we have a motion to approve our agenda?
I move approval.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Cave. The motion to approve our agenda. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Juniman.
Under council presentations, Earth Week.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. You know what, okay. Are you also going to mention our cleanup day on Saturday?
You can do that.
Okay. All right. So with that, council members, all those in favor of our agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Now moving on to the approval of our minutes. The April 8th, 2024 City Council Workshop meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So move.
Moved by Lee. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Juniman. The motion to approve the April 8th City Council Workshop meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Councilmember Cave abstains. Thank you. Moving on to our April 8th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So move.
Moved by Lee, seconded by Juniman. The motion to approve the April 8th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
One abstention. Thank you very much. The motion passes. Going on to appointments and presentations, administrative presentations, the council calendar update. Mr. Sable, this is your topic.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Just wanted to forecast a couple of things that you can anticipate on the calendar for upcoming workshop items. We'll be talking at the May 13th meeting around cannabis, around policy and issue framing, and we are developing a little bit of a working calendar between now and December 9th when we are likely to take a final action for the year. Also going to be talking about electric franchise fee ordinance discussion, and then also a Harvest Park update. And just to give you a heads up on that, Harvest Park went through a master planning process in late 2019, early 2020, and then was a COVID casualty of council action. And so I just want to revisit and bring that action back to you as a kind of a refresher because it was never formally adopted as items change. I did want to point out that as you mentioned in the opening, the tree planting is Saturday, May 4th at Maplewood Nature Center. And then there's also tree pickup Saturday, May 18th at the Public Works Garage, both Saturday, May 18th in the morning and then Monday in the evening. And then I also wanted to take an opportunity to talk about, because it is springtime, while we didn't have a lot of snow cover this year, I think as warm weather emerges, people get out of their house more and they're starting to notice things in their neighborhood that don't look like they had expected. We've seen accumulations of junk and debris in backyard and a really noticeable uptick in calls related to code enforcement issues. And so one of the issues around code enforcement is it also has this sort of sense of urgency. The neighbor has to look at it every day and wants the stuff picked up. The person who might be having the stuff in the backyard wants to wait as long as they can to put it out and to deal with it, and so you run into this natural tension, and often the city is one of the first calls that they get, and so we're trying to wrestle with this. And I also want to point out sometimes when we have people who have a lot of debris in the yard, they might have financial difficulties or they might be suffering from some mental health issues, and so these problems are not often just pick up your garbage. There's some more deeper issues at play. And so in the short run, I want to thank Danette and her team for putting together they do a ton of work. Paul Tinas is an army of one going out and responding to code enforcement complaints. He does a really good job. And the goal is always to get to compliance, and sometimes compliance takes longer than we would like. But so in the short run, we're developing some FAQs and some social media posts around what it means to pick up and be a good neighbor. We all will encourage folks to call and use the Fix-It form that's on the website so we can, as we're aware of problems, our neighbors are some of our best champions for quality of life, and so when they call, that's good. It gives us an opportunity. And we're also doing some outreach to organizations that could potentially be helpful. So churches or social clubs, if somebody doesn't have the ability to go clean out a yard, we can maybe get them to a resource that is there that can help them. And then we also want to forecast that in August of this year, we're going to be talking about some other strategies, some longer-term strategies that we can employ that might include a code review. It might do a process improvement. We have a consultant on board that's studying what codes exist in other cities. So I think we can have that opportunity to kind of talk about it. And then as we have those discussions, when it comes to budget time, we can actually talk about where we want to put our resources that will have the best impact. So I want to talk about, we know that code enforcement is an issue, especially this time of year, and we are working as best we can and have some short-term and medium-term approaches in place. So with that, Mayor and Council, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Mike. I think that is a really good idea. I know I'm getting emails from people about junk cars and just basic, building materials and junk in people's backyards, and what can they do? What can the city do to help clean that up? If you look at our agenda tonight, we're also dealing with an abatement, and that isn't the first one that we've had. So this, I think, is very timely, and I'm looking forward to having a discussion about what we can do with that. Thanks. Anyone else? Okay, then on to council presentations. Councilmember Juniman, you want to talk about Earth Week?
Well, yes, because this is Earth Day, but there's more to it than that. This is Earth Week, and to be real honest, every day should be Earth Day if you look at what's happening to the planet. But this is a good time to evaluate what in your household you think you can do to improve your carbon footprint. And there's lots of options. If you haven't tried our food scraps program, that's a good place to start. Try to put more in your recycling bin than in your trash bin. But there's lots of ways you can do that. And again, the mayor also already referred to our climate adaptation plan. There are strategies in there, and we're going to start publicizing those in like June, so people can start adopting them a couple at a time. We have to change our ways, and Earth Week is just a way to focus on that. So I ask you to pay attention to your habits and see if you can break a bad one or two when it comes to the environment.
Thank you. You know, I thought about this, Mr. Sable, when you brought up code enforcement, that maybe because this is timely, maybe we can put something into the Maplewood Living about some of our basic ordinances, about not parking boats or, you know, vehicles on grass, and about, you know, where do you put your garbage cans and some of those other things that I think it would be a good reminder, kind of a refresher for people, so that we can pay attention to those kinds of things, because it goes to quality of life here, and we certainly want to do our share with that.
Mayor, I have one
Councilor-
more if we could add. I know fires are big fire pits here, and to just remind people that it can only be clean, what is it, clean dry wood? I don't know how you say it. So just, I mean, it helps your neighbors, because some people think you can throw garbage and everything in there, and we've had issues
That's something
with
that we can put into
Yeah.
Maplewood Living. Good reminder. Are you, sorry.
Mayor and council members, Councilmember Cave, we also are using them on our public displays and reminders around outdoor fire pits.
Wonderful, thank you. Just a little point here that we had our Maplewood cleanup, which also goes to code enforcement. Thank you, council members. I know Councilmember Lee was there, Councilmember Juniman was there, and in the 10 years that I've done this, this was the absolute best weather that we have had in 10 years. It was a lovely day. There were 331 vehicles that came filled with all sorts of different things. 141 appliances were turned in, 58 bicycles, and of course the bicycles are going to be refurbished and are going to be donated. We had 105 mattresses that made it to our cleanup day, 42 small engines, and 96 tires. And there were 623 pounds of used clothing. I know that our community was very, very generous. I didn't get the final count on how much was given to the food shelf in terms of pounds of food, and also people were very generous with their pulling out extra change and bills.
It was over $500, but I didn't hear the final tally.
Okay, which is, you know, we have a very generous community, so that's great. So thank you, everyone who showed up and participated in that cleanup. That's a great way to help our community as well. Moving on to our agenda, we have a resolution. We're going to be talking about commissioner reappointments. Mr. Sable, this is yours.
Well, thank you, Mayor and council members. The council has a list of commissioners whose terms are set to expire April of this year, and one additional commissioner's term expired on December 31st. And the commissioners were asked to fill out an assessment to evaluate their time on the commission and to provide input to the council. Those commissioners approved for reappointment will serve another term, with the new term expiring 3 years from the current expiration date. And so you have in your information those who have requested to be reappointed to their respective commissions. And with that, I'll ask Stan for any questions.
Any questions, council members? I will say that I noticed in the application for reappointment, one of the commissioners suggested that we have a coronation for returning commissioners. And while we truly appreciate the service of our commissioners, we won't be having a coronation. But it made me chuckle when I read it. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty good. Okay, council members, would someone like to make a motion?
I motion to approve the attached resolution for commissioner reappointments.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Villavicencio, the resolution for commissioner reappointments. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Cave.
I just have one thing to say. Just thank you to all the commissioners who represent Maplewood. It's not a thankless job, and it's so great to see that all these people want to come back. And it really helps us and city council, and it helps the city. So thank you so much.
Do we need to include
Lee.
the dates?
Just a quick shout out to Fred in the Planning Commission. I think he's been there for, I don't remember the exact amount of year that he's been there. He's been there for quite a bit. So just want to thank him for his service to the city of Maplewood. Thank you, Fred.
Okay, Councilmember Juniman, did you have something
Do you
too?
I think maybe we should include in the motion, all their terms expire on April 30th of 2027, except for the planning commissioner, and it's December 31st of 2030.
Okay, is that a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
please.
I'll second that friendly amendment. Council members, are we okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, then all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, commissioners. Next, we have the resolution proclaiming Arbor Day. Mr. Love, this is your topic tonight.
Yes, Mayor and Council, so as we were talking about Earth Week and Earth Day, we also have Arbor Day, which is observed throughout the U.S. as well as the world as a whole as a day to celebrate trees. Trees are an essential component of the city's green infrastructure. They help mitigate the effects of climate change. This resolution before you tonight helps call attention to trees and engage the community to celebrate the values of trees. With that, staff it does recommend approval of the resolution proclaiming Saturday, May 4th, 2024 as Arbor Day for the city of Maplewood.
Thank you. Any questions? Would someone like to make that motion?
I move the resolution proclaiming May 4th, Arbor Day 2024 in Maplewood.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Lee, the motion to approve the resolution proclaiming Saturday, May 4th as Arbor Day in Maplewood. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have 6 items. Would someone like to make that motion?
A motion consent agenda items G1 through 6.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Juniman, the motion to approve consent agenda items G1 through 6. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Juniman.
I have 2 questions. First of all, in number 1, in number 4, I'm sorry, do we have to indicate that there are 3 separate motions within 4, or is that understood as part of the motion?
City Attorney Beatty.
Madam Mayor, I think you should acknowledge that there are 3 separate motions.
So it would be 1 through 3, 4, A, B, C, and then 5 and 6? Okay.
Okay, did everyone get that? All right, all those in,
Question on
Oh,
number 3.
sorry.
Sorry.
okay, question? Go ahead.
Number 3, the development agreement for landscaping improvements for the Roars Maplewood Apartments. This is a little unusual. We don't normally do this, so maybe we should highlight it as to why we're doing it.
Thank you. Danette, this is yours. I know it did indicate that we haven't done this, but then we haven't worked with Roars before either, as I recall.
Thank you,
Danette.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Councilmember Juniman. This is a little bit unusual. I'm told from other cities that I've talked to recently, we may see this a little bit more often, and it has really to do with financing. It's just one of the requirements that's either put on by the bank or the financing entity in regards to just wanting to clearly understand the parameters in regards to the release of the escrow. So it's just a clarification, it's more procedural, and we're fine with doing it. We follow it to the letter when we do this. So this is just putting it in a way that they can clearly see it and have it for their documentation.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for drawing attention to it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so we've had a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items G1 through 4, 4 including 4A, 4B, 4C, and then 5 and 6. Any further discussion? Then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a public hearing tonight concerning 2786 and 2792 Keller Parkway. Danette Parr, this is your topic tonight. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. You don't see these very often, but the public hearings that you are tasked with, one of them is the vacation. So that's why it's coming before you tonight and not the Planning Commission with a lot of our other ones that come before you. As you can see on the overhead, the two properties that we're talking about are 2786 and 2792 Keller Parkway. You'll see the red outline around the parcels, and I know they're strange looking, but those are in fact the parcel boundaries. You'll see the pink one that comes down and kind of bisects the two parcels, and then you'll see that yellow line. The yellow line is the easement we're talking about. So it just cuts right in the cross in the back. And if you want to do a pool or you want to do anything really fun, it's really difficult to do that with that easement running across there. In this particular case, we don't have any utilities. It was intended for utilities initially. We don't have any utilities running through it. We don't intend to. Our engineering department has looked at that and doesn't see any issues with going ahead and vacating it. They support the vacation. We did send out notices to everyone within the plat. There were 9 people within that plat, or properties, I should say, within the plat that were notified. We didn't have anyone that objected to it. We sent out those notices, and in conjunction with the properties adjacent to it, we needed 1 signature, and we did get that signature with no problem in relation to supporting the approval of it. So with that, I ask that you open the public hearing.
Council members, are there any questions? I think it's interesting to note that the easement, the utility easement, was platted back in 1963. and
That's the
it's
new part of Maplewood.
It is, and it's never been used. I'm surprised it's taken this long for someone to ask for it to be vacated. There are no questions, Ms. Parr, so what I will do is I will open up the public hearing concerning the public vacation request for 2786 and 2792 Keller Parkway. Is there, City Clerk Sint, is there anyone to speak on the topic?
Mayor, no one has signed up at this time.
Okay. Then I'll just pro forma, I'll ask it 3 times. Is there anyone who would like to speak concerning the public vacation? Is there anyone who would like to speak? Is there anyone who would like to speak? Okay. Well, I'm going to close the public hearing then. And we'll move on to our discussion. We do have a motion before us. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Parr?
I motion to approve a resolution for the public vacation of an easement located within the sites at 2786 and 2792 Keller Parkway.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Juniman, the motion to approve a resolution for the public vacation of an easement located within the sites at 2786 and 2792 Keller Parkway. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Moving on, we have no unfinished business. We do have 3 items of new business. The first one is concerning the abatement agreement for property located at 1742 and a half English Street. Ms. Parr, this is your topic.
Thank you.
I apologize. I thought I had one more in front of us. All right, Madam Mayor, members of the council, we don't actually have an overhead for this one, but I am going to go backwards a little bit to go forward here. Is that the order we want this in? One moment, Madam Mayor, if we could.
Sure.
I don't know why it shows like that. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. We just had a little thing here we got to figure it out. I just want to draw, we're going to go back a little bit and talk about the process that led us to this, because this is another item that we don't deal with these very often. The council doesn't see these typically. So we're going to give a little bit more background than we might normally if we see these come forward in the future. So this is in relation to the Metropolitan Council Livable Communities Act grant and loan agreements for the Gladstone Village at 1310 Frost Avenue East.
No,
No?
this is the abatement
J1
agreement?
abatement,
Okay.
1742.
Thank you. That's where
Sorry.
the confusion is. Just one moment.
Yep.
We're just going to reverse that. I apologize.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Mayor and council, sorry about that. If I can get the overhead or the
Jeanette, I
image.
think I misled you. This is actually, I didn't notice that. I assumed that it was you. It's Mr. Love. Thank you.
No problem, no problem. So, Mayor and Council, I'm going to give a little bit of a background on this item, and then our city attorney is going to comment about the agreement that's before you tonight. So, this property shown here, highlighted in blue, 1742 and a half English Street, was built around the 1940s. Late in 2021, the septic system was inspected and it was found to be non-compliant. This was likely due to the fact that it is a cesspool, which was probably built in the 40s. A cesspool is an underground, essentially container that has either perforated sides, open bottom, or maybe both. And these systems actually don't treat the septic material like a traditional septic system would. So it was found non-compliant. Back in February of 2023, the City Council deemed that the structure was hazardous and ordered the abatement of the issue. So there were really two choices given to the property owner. One, to either replace the existing system with a compliant system, such as hooking into the city sewer and water, or demolish the structure and address the cesspool. To date, despite some effort by the property owner, neither of these options have happened. The city has until May 9th to file in district court. Rather than initiating formal proceedings, the city attorney has negotiated an agreement with the property owner, and I'll let Ron talk a little bit about what that agreement is.
Thank you. Ron?
Madam Mayor and Council, as you know from past experience, the way most of these deals go is the city adopts a resolution dealing with a hazardous building, serves the property owner, who then doesn't do anything, and we have to file in court and litigate the matter and end up having to take care of the problem ourselves at our expense and then specially assess that cost back to the property. Occasionally, when you get a responsive property owner, things work out better, or at least potentially work out better. We've done that a couple of times, and here we have, I think, another opportunity to do that. The agreement before you is one that we've negotiated with the property owner through his attorney, some back and forth. It's an acceptable form for both of us. If executed by both parties, it mandates that the property owner take care of the problem at his expense, thus relieving the city of the obligation to do that. If he fails to do that, then we have the contract to rely on, and we can simply go in and the property owner has admitted that the property is hazardous, has given us permission to go on the property and to remedy the problem, and to specially assess the cost of that against the property. We don't have to go to court, and that's the advantage of doing this. And so, to me, it's a win-win, and certainly it's in the city's best interest to enter into these agreements. So, I recommend, and the staff recommends, that the council consider adopting or approving the agreement before you tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Love?
Yes, Mayor. One thing I'd like to mention is that this agreement sets a end date of August 30th to have I'm sorry, a little tongue-tied there. August 30th for him to deal with it before it becomes into the city's hands.
And so I assume that, certainly I want to believe that he will address the issue, but if not, then I take it in August, we are prepared, you'll bring it back to us. And then, do you need to bring it back to us?
No.
Or can we go forward and then demolish the house? Mr. Beatty?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, Council, there's no reason that it has to be brought back. That's the advantage of the agreement. We have an agreement with the property owner where he says he will do it, and if not, gives the city permission to enter the property, abate the problem, which means removing the entire house, the structure, the foundation, dealing with the cesspool and the well, taking care of everything, and simply assess the cost of that against the property. You won't need to see it again.
Okay. We have, can't tell who was first.
You got my question answered.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Lee.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up question to that. If we were to go in, if the property owner doesn't take any action and we have to go in, do we have to provide some sort of notice to the property owner that we are going in? Is there anything that along that line at all?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Lee, there's nothing required in the agreement to that effect. I think as a matter of common courtesy, we would notify the property owner, but he's on notice of August 30th as the date. And so if he fails to take care of the matter by then, I don't think it will be any surprise if we go in after that. It will take some time to do that. We will have to get a contractor, a demolition contractor, and follow whatever procedures are necessary, so it's not going to happen the next day. But yes, we would send him a notice saying, you're in default of your agreement, and therefore we intend to proceed under that agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sable.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. One of the things that I wanted to, as I mentioned earlier, when we talked about code enforcement earlier, this is sort of the most extreme example of something that needs to be abated. And I think this is one path that we have taken with this property. You can anticipate this conversation approximately 4 more times in the coming months. And so while it's not typical for us to do this, I think we will you'll learn from it and then get better. And so we'll have some sort of continuous process improvements as we deal with other structures and other houses that maybe are in the same need of repair.
Question, and this might be for the lawyer, but is this something that we're doing, like our code enforcement is the quickest, easiest way, or is there options we can change our code enforcement to make this faster, this process?
Madam Mayor, Council, code enforcement, as I think all of you probably know, entails a whole bunch of issues, most of which are not this serious and don't come to this extreme. We've had a few, this is a hazardous building. It's sort of an extreme situation. And we always try, we meaning both the city staff and my office, work with the property owner if at all possible, because it's expensive from everybody's perspective to do this. We don't want to do this. It's only when it's a dire situation and there doesn't seem to be any other remedy that we go through the hazardous building process, which is a statutory process, which you accomplished last year. It's just taken this long to play this out. So, we've seen a number of these, but this is sort of the, I don't know if it's the apex of this pyramid, but it's the extreme of these kinds of cases.
Okay, thank you.
In my time on the council, this is only, I think, the second house where we have had to go to this extreme. And certainly, it is hard for everyone. But if you take a look at that, what we have in front of us, this particular property has neighbors, and we have a cesspool system that abuts the Bruce Vento Trail, and there is hazardous waste that is involved with this property. My question, I know that there was a question about whether or not someone was living there off and on. Can we confirm that no one is living in this situation?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, we have a couple things on this one in particular. First, to answer the question about if anyone's living there, we have posted it quite a while ago. We posted it, many, many months ago we posted it. And we were monitoring it, and we don't believe that someone was living there on a regular, ongoing basis. If people were in there for a shorter-term basis, we can't confirm that. We heard different things, and then when we'd go there, there wouldn't be anyone there that we could confirm that with, but it's unclear. The driver behind this one, though, and part of the reason Steve's talking about it, it's a little bit unique because of the cesspool feature, even more so than the structure, I would say, is driving this. The structure is kind of secondary to it. It's the concerns, as you brought up earlier, about the cesspool and its adjacency to some other things.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to point out that this process started last February already. And, big shout out to the team, our staff, and our attorney. I think you guys have done a really good job working with this particular constituent. You guys are very thoughtful and mindful in terms of working with him. I know he doesn't live here 100% full-time here, so you definitely really thought through this process. I do also want to point out that this particular language does allow the property owner to construct a replacement structure with limited circumstances, of course, provided that he asks for the proper permits and application and everything. So there's still an opportunity for the property owner in the long term if he wants to pursue another building.
Thank you. City Attorney.
Madam Mayor, Council, that's a good point, but let me respond to that. That's a statutory requirement. That's not something that we are conceding in the agreement per se. The statute says that with regard to any nonconformity, and this house is a nonconforming structure, the property owner has the right to replace it, not expand it, but replace it within a year. So the agreement acknowledges the statutory right. It's not extending a right that he would not otherwise have.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Council members, I don't see any other lights on. Would someone like to make the motion concerning the abatement?
Motion to approve and authorize the execution of the abatement agreement for the property located at 1742.5 English Street.
Second.
Moved by Lee, seconded by Juniman. The motion to approve and authorize the execution of the abatement agreement for the property located at 1742.5 English Street. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to the 1310 Frost Avenue East. I'm sorry about that, Ms. Parr. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there for the wrong, item. But this one is yours.
I promise, yes. Thank you, Madam
Okay.
Mayor, members of the council. Keep me on my toes. Thank you for that, Mayor. I will tag team this one possibly with Mr. Beatty, our city attorney, as is helpful. I'm going to get I don't want to get in the weeds. I've been told don't get in the weeds, but I do want to go back a little bit because this is a unique one, and you may see more of these in the future. And so next time you'll be prepared. In May of 2023, the council approved the J.B. Vang project, as you recall. That was at 1310 Frost Avenue East. It's now referred to as the Gladstone Village site. With the approval of that, you allowed for a creation of 65 units of affordable housing in this 4-story building that's going to be built in the future. It continues to move forward. The developer continues to work on it and is intending to start construction on this project this summer, is what we're told. And the developers here in the audience can speak to that if you have any questions as well. In advance of that, they have come back to the city with a request. This request, we have not had one of these that I'm aware of previously here in the city, but other cities do, and it's not uncommon in some other cities. As you may recall, earlier in the process, the developer identified a funding gap. There was a significant funding gap at one time early on, and for that reason, the Metropolitan Council's Livable Community Demonstration Account grants were sought. We brought that before the council. You were in agreement with that, and approval was given in regards to applying for those. As you likely recall, we've dealt with a number of these. We are the actual requester, right? And we are the conduit, and it goes to the developer as a grant. There were a couple of different funding awards given, 2 grants in particular. One was a Livable Communities Demonstration Account. That was for $1,150,000. That grant was awarded to the city in December of 2023. Another was tax-based revitalization account. That was in January of this year, and we received a $100,000 grant for this project. The Metropolitan Council allows grant recipients, in this case the city, to convert those grants into deferred loans for projects that have been awarded tax credits as well. The developer has requested the city consider this since there is a tax advantage to the developer, which allows for a maximum amount of grant dollars to be directed directly into the project. These loans defer any interest or periodic payments and would have a 50-year time frame. The 50 years is because it's in alignment with some other funding sources that the developer has received for this project. So they just want to keep those parallel. At the end of the loan agreement, the developer must repay the loan to the city, which can then work with the Metropolitan Council to direct the funds towards another project, which is kind of a unique way to help build our war chest up for other things we want to do that the council thinks is appropriate. While the request to convert the grants into deferred loans has not occurred, as I mentioned before, we may see more of this. And really, the way to look at it is if you choose not to do this, then basically we're just saying, we're going to give the grant, we'll give the money to them as was originally approved. In this case, you have the option in 50 years, the city potentially seeing that money come back and to be able to use it for other funding sources. So it may feel like a win-win, if I can go that far. The city attorney has looked over the agreements and the documents and has worked with the developer's attorney as well and has concurred that recommends the motion to approve the grant and the loan agreements between the city, the Metropolitan Council, and J.B. Vang, and to authorize the mayor, the city council, and the city attorney to complete and execute all required documents. And there was a number of them, and they were in your packet. And with that, I'll defer to Mr. Beatty if he has anything he wants to add to that.
Mr. Beatty?
Madam Mayor, Council, no, I think that's a pretty complete analysis. Again, I think the key thing is that the more typical situation is that we're simply a conduit, and we got a grant from the Met Council, and then we would make a grant to the ultimate recipient. In this case, instead of just an absolute grant, we're doing it as a loan, which helps them and at least preserves the possibility. I don't know how many of us are going to be here in 50 years, but at least the possibility that the city will see a return of that money and can reuse it in that period of time. To me, it's a plus.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anything else, Ms. Parr? Okay. Then I didn't catch who was first.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, Councilmember Cave.
I have two questions, and this relates to J.B. Vang. Is it just given to them, and it's like if they sell the loan or if they default, either way, then what happens?
Madam Mayor, Council, one of the other documents in that package, and admittedly it was a huge package, is a disbursement agreement, a master disbursement agreement, and there's another document, subordination agreement. Our two loans are only two of, I think, 9 sources of financing, plus their own equity. So those other documents put the rest of the package together. 3 of them are from the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency, and those are the principal lenders on this. They've got the situation locked down pretty well. The master distribution agreement says what is the order in which the money is going to be taken out for this project, and then the subordination agreement is who has priority. We're not on the top of either of those, but we're also not on the bottom of that. So we would play a role in the disbursement of the money. Our money comes out somewhere in the middle, and our protection is somewhere in the middle as well, which is probably appropriate given our level of commitment. So there's comprehensive documents involved with this, I think, tie them up fairly well, and we're in as good a situation as we can. Again, considering that the alternative is simply a straight grant, after which we lose any control over that money.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Good question. Councilmember Juniman.
In our packet, it states that due to this partnership being successful and the grants being awarded, that the developer has withdrawn its request for direct city assistance. That means withdraw a TIF request, does it not?
Madam Mayor, yes. Council, that was an early request, and we all anticipated that. But yes,
Right.
because they were so successful in getting 9 sources of money, they don't need our tax increment, which is, again, another benefit to us.
Yes, it is.
Any other questions? Okay, then we have a motion before us.
I move to approve grant and loan agreements between the city, Metropolitan Council, and J.B. Vang, and authorize the mayor, city manager, and city attorney to complete and execute all required documents.
Second.
Juniman, seconded by Lee, the motion to approve the grant and loan agreements between the city, the Metropolitan Council, and J.B. Vang, and authorize the mayor, city manager, and city attorney to complete and execute all required documents. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. Thank you very much. We have one more agenda items. This is approving the grant agreement with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources for emerald ash borer tree removal and plantings. Mr. Love.
Yes, Mayor and Council. So, as you're well aware, emerald ash borer, or EAB, has significantly impacted the health of ash trees, not only within our city, but also the metro area. Back in 2011, we had a tree inventory survey done, and we had about 2,100, a little over that, ash trees either in our public right-of-way or on city property, like parklands or city campuses. Since then, our staff has worked hard to address a number of these trees. We've removed about 970 ash trees, either by the work of our public works, street and park maintenance crews, awarded grants, or through our city street improvement projects. To help kind of further address more of these trees, staff did apply an application for Minnesota's Department of Natural Resources Shade Tree Program Bonding Grant, which takes place from 2023 to 2027. The maximum amount award for this grant was set at $500,000. Staff has been notified that we were selected to receive $450,000 for the removal and replacement of ash trees. So part of what the application process looked at was they wanted to make sure that the funds were going towards areas of environmental justice. And so we, as part of our application, we utilized the MPCA's website for understanding environmental justice in the city of Maplewood to identify the top 3 census tracts in Maplewood that would show that we're really putting this project where we need. We further compared that to our climate adaptation plan, which also further showed that this area highlighted in pink represents 3 census tracts. There's approximately 434 public ash trees in this area, which is more than what this grant will be able to do. So what this grant requires is for the removal of ash tree, the restoration of the boulevard, planting of a diverse street canopy of trees, and 3 years of maintenance for those trees. So it isn't simply just cut it down and we're done. So we're likely able to, we're estimating about maybe be able to take out 200 trees out of this area. We'll likely start on the west side and work east. We wanted to make sure that we had more than enough trees for the grant money so that we can ensure that we use that grant money to the maximum extent. With that, I am available for any questions.
Thank you. I want to say thank you for all of the work that you put into getting this grant. I remember that when you submitted this, it was quite some time ago, but that certainly will help with emerald ash borer. You know, I'm going to call on Mr. Sable. This is really one of the things that we're trying to do to bear on this problem of emerald ash borer in our city. And I talked with Mr. Sable about it today, and there are other things that we're doing. And so I'm going to ask him to maybe highlight some of those things.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Yeah, we know that emerald ash borer is a significant issue in our community, and so this grant is sort of another phase of our response to that. In addition, I think prior to my arrival, there was an allocation of about $125,000 towards emerald ash borer remediation and removal of the trees. And so we also know, and I've been paying attention to other cities, similar size and/or neighbors, about what they are doing to not only address trees in the public right-of-way and public parks and public spaces, but also we know that the cost of tree removal is really expensive. We've heard estimates on the low end of $3,000, on the high end north of $15,000 or more. And so there's an opportunity for us to consider providing some support to residents to create sort of an assistance program to sort of help mitigate the cost of really expensive tree removals. I'll give two examples. North St. Paul has a program that they have available on their website. The city of Richfield, a similar sized community and similarly populated, and just a good mirror of us on the west side of the city, offers a income qualified assistance program that they've developed that provides the ability to cover some of the costs of removal. Now there's a fixed dollar amount because all the dollars are scarce, but on May 28th, we're going to have a council work session, a workshop about trees, because I really think of this as sort of step one of probably three more steps, because I don't want to forecast the weather, but if we have another terrific winter, our ability to remove trees in the public right-of-way is going to be enhanced and maybe take down another 900. And then we actually can see, I think, the end of the road for this issue in the community in the, maybe hopefully in the coming 2 or 3 years. So look for that conversation on the 28th. We're going Steve and I are going to help frame up some of what those options might look like and a little example of what other communities are doing that we can prove effective. And now I say all of that to know that if on the low end it's $3,000 to remove a tree, and we're getting $400,000, that doesn't go as far as you would hope it would. And so we do know that the magnitude of this problem is pretty significant, and so it will require some more money, but this is a good, healthy start to making some efforts.
Thank you. Councilmember Juniman.
I'd just like to point out that in our report, it points out that the city's share of this is the only thing we have to do is $50,000 worth of tree maintenance for the newly planted trees. And that brings up a point that I hope everyone is aware: when you replace a tree, please take care of the one you have planted, or you have planted it for nothing. And I think it's a good thing that this grant reflects that. So we all have to do that.
Thank you. Council members, I don't see any other questions. We have a motion before us. Would someone like to make that motion?
I move to approve the resolution entering into a grant agreement with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources for EAB tree removal and planting, and authorize the mayor and city manager to sign the grant agreement. Minor revisions are, as approved by the city attorney, are authorized as needed.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Villavicencio. The motion to approve the resolution entering into a grant agreement with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources for EAB tree removal and planting, and authorize the mayor and city manager to sign the grant agreement. Minor revisions, as approved by the city attorney, are authorized as needed. Any further discussion, council members? Seeing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. And thanks again to our staff for going after these grants. That was really pretty important. All right, council members, we have worked through our agenda, covered a lot of different topics, and as I was reading my packet, covering topics that I don't think we've addressed, new topics with the J.B. Vang loan and an abatement of a house. I mean, these are a little bit unusual. So thank you very much for all of your assistance and all of your thoughts. I'm looking forward to hearing from the Met Council or the transit folks once they've had an opportunity to talk with St. Paul. So we will be revisiting that sometime this summer. So with that, we are adjourned. Good night, everyone.